Welcome to WYCD Wicket. That stands for what you can do. And you shouldn't look at humorous things before you start a live stream. Now I know. Oh, mercy me. Thank you so much for joining. We have a quick channel announcement. As I see getting talked about in chat, we've been very, very random with the times. We are now doing, we were doing every night at 8 p.m. We're changing that. It's now every night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, except for the Lord's Day Sunday. That's just a schedule that works out well. As for Two for Tuesdays, I am retaining the right to do the second stream at any random time because it's just fun. I like being able to wait for something to truly get me, and I don't like having to wait to have to talk to you guys about it. So, stream number 1 for Two for Tuesday on this Tuesday is now. Welcome, good to see y'all. Delighted to have you here. Oh boy, oh boy. So I wanted to start with not really yeah, I guess it's a correction from yesterday. I should have done a weird intro. That's usually how that goes. Oh, well, I wanted to start with, I guess, a makeup from yesterday. Because by the time I was telling you guys about this, I took 3 days to just work on back-end channel stuff. By the time I was telling you about this, the vote had come and gone. And Nashville police are no longer going to have the same oversight that they once did. Early 21st century America, we think it's a good idea to have less oversight over police. Interesting. Here's News Channel 5 talking about it. I'm mostly going to let them lay it out because they do a good job. And then I'm going to have some commentary for you at the tail end. But let's rip this uncomfortable Band-Aid off. And don't worry, the rest of this, generally speaking, is great news. The rest of this is happy stuff, but we should talk about this, and we should talk about what you can do in your state, and if you live in Tennessee, what you can do in Nashville. There we go.
One of the bills headed to the governor's desk now could abolish community oversight boards in Tennessee. News Channel 5's Araceli Crescencio spoke with the executive director of Nashville's COB, who says that this legislation is reversing the will of thousands of people.
In 2018, more than 134,000 people in Davidson County voted to create a community oversight board that would have the power to investigate claims of police misconduct independently. But with a vote of 67 to 19 on the House floor Thursday, state lawmakers voted to disband all civilian-led COBs in the state.
Bill 591 and receiving constitutional majority, iron by clerk, passed by objection. Most reconsidered table.
The bill was met with pushback and even led to the arrest of a grandmother. After making repeated outbursts, Speaker Cameron Sexton asked troopers to remove Michelle Flynn from the gallery. She calmly walked out, but then was told she had to leave the Capitol completely.
The speaker said to leave the chambers, which is what I did peacefully. And at that point, they said, if you don't leave with us, you'll be put under arrest.
She said she felt she had to speak up after seeing the state keep pushing legislation taking power away from Nashville voters.
So it ain't pretty. But if you're in Tennessee, you're in a state where the government gives you an opportunity to do this. What this grandmother did is exactly what you should do. If you have the opportunity to peacefully protest something and get arrested for it, good. Contact your local news channel as well. Let them know you got arrested fighting for justice. In the 60s, there were folks in our country who had been arrested doing similar things. Let me tell you, that arrest record was a mark of pride. I truly hope I don't get through this era without getting an arrest record that I can brag about. I hope I find a way. Probably won't be in Michigan because we got rid of gerrymandering, and now we have a truly democratic state. It's wonderful. But that lady right there is a hero. That's who I aspire to be. Why do I say if you're lucky enough? Well, aside from the fact that for the rest of your life, that will be a mark of pride. That arrest record is something you should print out, frame, and put on a wall. Aside from that, there is the fact that this fever, ugly as it has been, is in the process of breaking. And just like the people that were on Nixon's enemies list, those who are will have fought this, those who will have been on the record fighting this, they will be held up as role models in our society, and rightly so. And this is useful to make the fever break faster. So kudos to this lady.
Metro Council they're trying to cut. They're trying to take the power away of our boards across the city. So many of us are very disturbed.
It's a vote that Executive Director of Nashville COB says sets a dangerous precedent and reverts the system to the way things used to be when police departments investigated their own officers.
We would just basically review complaints and then pass them over to the police department. So we would do we basically would be a glorified intake system.
Nashville's creation of a COB came after shootings of black men at the hands of police.
With all of the issues that we've had in Nashville, Knoxville, and in Memphis, especially after the Tyree Nichols, by the way, who just died 90 days ago, to have such a big move to undo oversight, it's very troubling.
And urges Governor Bill Lee to veto it. In Nashville, Araceli Crescencio, News Channel 5.
Pretty rough situation in Tennessee. If this is happening in your state, if there are moves to give less accountability to police, make your representatives join the fight. Literally, be out in front of their offices. If you have a Democratic representative that's not joining you in a protest, do a secondary protest outside their office. Truly, put pressure across the board. We are in the time where the GOP is being so unreasonable, truly, that trying to reason with them is silly. And accepting the laws that they've pushed through in an unreasonable manner, accepting the madness that they are calling legislation, that's an unjust thing to do. So brush up on your civil disobedience. Have a look at Martin Luther King. Get out your suit that you don't mind getting torn, because you might be arrested in it. Dust it off, put it on a coat hanger, and be prepared. But this is the way in which we are going to make this an embarrassment for the GOP. And that is the goal. Every time they do something like this, view it as an opportunity to demonstrate to the rest of the United States, to the rest of the world, what is wrong with it. Most people who understand politics most people who follow politics only understand it from the collective reactions people seem to be having across the country. They don't understand what is, and we're going to get into the specifics in a moment. They don't understand what is the norm. They don't understand the historical context. They don't understand the details. They don't understand, for example, how police oversight boards work or why they are there. They have forgotten Tyree Nichols' name if they ever learned it. That's who we're dealing with the average American who has a strong political opinion. So, show them. Show these people that it's extraordinary evil that we are taking extraordinary steps to fight. And to demonstrate that we are, in fact, the good guys, we use civil disobedience as opposed to the tactics Republicans recommend. And then he did a clean transition. Let's have a look at what the wicked community has to say. Let's have a gander. The anti-corporatist says, you're welcome to do whatever you like with timing. I've just heard that consistency is best for channel growth. Yeah, it's you guys are a very forgiving audience. But no, you're right. That's absolutely it's absolutely correct. You need consistency. I should have just picked a time a long time ago, but I did enjoy that early era, sort of like the summer before college. You know you're able to get away with stuff you won't be able to in a moment. Try to make it last, but it's time to grow up as a channel. The anti-corporatist also says, sounds like what you can do in Nashville is get beat by the cops. Funny enough, that's what the suit is for, in part. Honestly, I mean this. Wear your Sunday best when you go to protest. It makes it very difficult for the cops to treat you like what they would prefer people believe you are. I've been to a lot of protests where I see folks wearing like body armor or like battle helmets, and I get it. But in my opinion, it's a greater danger to yourself and the crowd that you're with to wear that stuff. Anti-corporatist says, BRB, got to get some things right quick, but I'll be listening. Brother, I love it. We are birds of a feather. I think what you said in that piece with Klepper, says the anti-corporatist last night, applies here. Beating down the minorities is the point to MAGA Republicans, 100%. Zix1326 says, Tennessee seems to be pushing hard against Texas and Florida for who can be the most fascist. And I'd toss in Missouri as well. Yeah. I think that's very much true. And, part of the reason for that is that not only do the voters not really understand how any of this works, but the politicians in the Republican Party, for the most part, don't really seem to have any understanding of government. We've now had a good 6-7 years of a Republican Party that holds up ignorance, that rewards people for being completely just utterly disregarding how the United States is set up and supposed to work. And the downside to that is you haven't needed an understanding of how it's supposed to work. Now, whether or not you agree with how the U.S. is set up, and by the way, there's a ton I don't agree with, but whether or not you agree with it, you should know what it is if you're going to be in it, if you're going to apply for a job to the people of the United States. Well, bow of the fifth column for the people of the United States to give you. You should the implied understanding is that you at least know what the job is. Well, bow of the fifth column has pointed out that it would appear a whole lot of representatives from these states truly don't know what their job is, how it functions, what they are allowed to do, what they are not allowed to do. Isn't that odd? Let's have a look at what he has to say, and I'm gonna tell you how you can really just twist this knife and use it to your electoral advantage. One day I'm going to nail these transitions. But it's not today. Oh, my word. You know, the people who watch the VOD will never believe you if you tell them how rough the live show is. They're just never going to believe you. I have the benefit of getting a good hour to clip these things together in a gentle way. All right, here's Bo with the fifth column.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today we are going to talk about McCarthy, the budget, the debt ceiling, other Republicans, basic civics, and an interesting dynamic. A dynamic that has developed, and it is interesting, but to be honest, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable, and it has definitely altered my perception of some things. So what's going on? The Republican Speaker of the House, McCarthy, has said his budget, it's going for a vote this week. Other Republicans have indicated they have issues, questions, comments, concerns with this budget. Some going as far as suggesting they may not vote for it. By my count, at time of filming, he's going to need congressional approval, and he doesn't have the votes. Now, he is Speaker of the House, so he can put some pressure, make some backroom deals, make a lot of promises, and he can probably shore up the votes. It's not a huge gap. It's embarrassing for him to be in that situation as Speaker, but that's not the dynamic I want to talk about. I want to talk about why some Republicans have questions, comments, and concerns. You would think that it's because they understand that the budget cuts that are actually in it, they impact their voters, their base, their supporters, their constituents. This budget will actively harm Republican supporters. You would think that would be the reason they have issues with it. But for some of them, that's not it. That's not the question. The real issue, apparently, is that there's nothing in this budget that suggests they plan on basically balancing the budget within 10 years. Okay. If you are a staffer for a congressperson that holds this position, please listen closely. That's not how this works. That's not a thing. It doesn't matter. That isn't a clause that carries any weight whatsoever. I mentioned this in another video recently, and we'll...
Okay, hold up. I had to listen to this twice before I really understood what he was saying. And so I want to go over it with you real quick, just so that you're not misled in the way I accidentally was the first watching through. So it seems like the objection here from the people that are objecting to this bill is that there's nothing to control the budget over the next 10 years. First time I heard it, I thought they were objecting to McCarthy putting something like that in the bill. But they're not. Now, the reason that's so odd is that it honestly would have made sense to me if McCarthy would have put something like that in the bill. Not because he has that ability to control the budget in 10 years, which, spoiler, that's what Bo's talking about. It's a nonsensical thing, but it would have been good politics. Because you put something in the bill that says, oh, in the next 10 years, the budget must be, unreasonably small. And then, if Republicans win again, I don't think they will, but if they do, and that's inconvenient, you just quietly remove that from the budget in the next session. You just don't put out a press release, and you know that Democrats certainly aren't savvy enough to take advantage of that. Or if Democrats are in control totally within the next 10 years during the next budget period, and they take it out, then you rake them over the coals for it. But it's important to understand what they're complaining about is not that something like this was in the budget, and they're saying, "Oh, we can't do that. The Democrats will try to get rid of it." They're complaining that no such thing is in the budget, and that doesn't make sense because it only has value as a political move, because it is not something that they have actual control over. I'm going to let Bo bring it home.
Come back to it. But there is no law that a current Congress can enact that is so heavy a future Congress cannot lift. That's not a thing. Sure, you can put the words in there. We're going to put a cap and we're going to balance the budget within 10 years. That's great. If the next Congress decides they want to spend 12 years worth of federal budget in 6 months, all they have to do when they approve it is remove the language you included this year. That's it. It's not real. There are multiple things in McCarthy's budget that are like this, like the caps on future spending and stuff like that. It's imaginary. It doesn't carry any weight whatsoever. All it does is make a future Congress write a few extra words in their bill. Doesn't matter. I was operating under the assumption that Republican lawmakers knew this. They understood this, and this was just them banking on the fact that they're, super patriotic, pro-America, pro-Constitution base was too ignorant of civics to know that it didn't matter. After seeing Republicans literally talk about withholding their vote over this, it makes me think that there are Republican lawmakers who do not know basic civics, who do not know the function of the Congress that they serve in, do not know the power of the Congress that they serve in. That is unnerving. The Republican Party has to get its act together. Set aside all rhetoric, all policy, everything like that. You are electing people that literally could not write a job description for what they're up there to do. They have no idea what their powers or limitations are. You cannot say, "Oh, I support the Republic," when the people you elect have no clue how the government works. If you hear your representative talking about, well, there's nothing about a balanced budget within 10 years, just assume that they have no clue how the government functions. Because there is nothing that this Congress can do
brutal,
to limit the actions of a future Congress in that way.
He's got another minute on there, but we're going to skip it. If you want to watch the whole video, by all means, link is in the description. Check him out. You will never regret listening to the dulcet tones of Bo of the Fifth Column. Weird thing to object to. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about this. I mean, I don't get it. I even wanted to. Lawrence St. Laurent, howdy, good to see you. I really want to believe that there's some strategy here. Like they know it. They don't actually have the ability to meaningfully affect this. But I found myself hoping that maybe they were like, oh, we know we can't actually meaningfully say what's going to happen in 3-4 years with the budget, but we want it for the political reasons, yada, yada, yada. But just everything I've seen points to the contrary. They are asked basic questions about their jobs and they can't answer them. They hold this thing that McCarthy's been trying to put forward. This budget has been an embarrassment. They're desperate to just make it go away because it hasn't worked out as they hoped it would. basically Americans said, wait a minute, now you're talking about serious stuff and you children can't, you don't know what you're doing. And they're just demonstrating over and over that, yes, they don't know what they're doing. And they can't be trusted with these things. And anytime you allow Republicans to govern, they govern badly. They have no sense of how to actually do this job. Surprise, surprise, coming from a party that says government is bad. Surprise, surprise, coming from a party that that constantly tries to run the government badly so that they can say, look at how poorly this organization functions. You shouldn't fund it. You should give tax breaks to the rich so that they don't have to fund the government that works for you because the government works badly. You should privatize everything and just make a new rich person, a new billionaire to be your boss. That's been their pitch. What can you do? Rake Republican voters over the polls. I left at that point specifically because it was the last thing that Bo said that I really wanted to stress. Just assume when they do stuff like this that they really don't know. And if you're in a state where you have a district representative saying they're not going to support McCarthy's bill, the Republican proposed bill, because it doesn't impose future restrictions that they're unable to deal with, if you have that, tell Republican voters, this guy that you support, he literally doesn't know how to do the job. He literally does not know how to do the job that you elected him for. And the goal is not in that moment to win them over. Maybe eventually a certain percentage of the people you tell this to will see the light and will suddenly start giving a damn about the well-being of other human beings, will realize that they care also about themselves and that the people they've been supporting don't actually help them. They just rob them. Maybe. But that's not the goal. The goal is to get them to not come out to vote. Not because they aren't allowed, not because something is physically preventing them, not because of some arbitrary rule that we put in place. No. The goal is to depress the Republican vote by being honest with Republican voters. Look, we know they're very unlikely to come out and vote for the Democrat. Okay. All right. We don't believe in the same things. Fair enough. But when you show them that the things they believe in aren't actually being supported at all and couldn't be supported at all by a group of people that don't know how to do the job, you can have one less vote for a monster. Just look, when you vote for these people, make sure that the embarrassment comes with it. Make people own the behavior of the candidates they support. As well, they should. It's already something the left has to do. If Joe Biden hiccups at the wrong time, the left will constantly hear about it. Should be true for the GOP as well. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say about this one. One of these days. There we are. All right, let's have a look. Zick says, so Dems should say, okay, you can have that one, but we want insert something real here. I mean, basically, yeah. If they want to negotiate that badly, like, I think Dems should say, okay, yeah. Tell you what, you put in some funding for green energy, and we'll say that in 5 years, we're going to cut XYZ. And just make sure it's something that will be, politically devastating to cut. So either the GOP has to cut it, or the GOP has to go back on such cuts because they can't actually do that, or Democrats can just not do it when they're in power. I don't think that's necessarily... Let me put it like this. If I were a representative, that is not something I would do. But if we're talking about just playing the political game, purely from a negotiating standpoint, yeah. The GOP is operating in such bad, with such bad strategy. Like it's almost hard not to just knock them out. The anti-corporatist says, yeah, it's just a how extreme can you be popularity contest anymore. Yep. We got an interesting conversation here. Anti-corporatist to Zix, yeah, except that they will realize that they are in the majority and concede nothing. Ooh, maybe. Lauren St. Laurent says, even better, agree on this one and then campaign on their ignorance. Oh my God, yes, do both, says Zix, 100%. Got to start using stupid against them in the House as well as on the streets. Hell yes, Zix, you are completely correct. Wholeheartedly agreed. Oh no. Oh yes. Okay, there we go. Look, we got to talk about it. It's not the most exciting news of the day, but it is the biggest news of the day, and you ought to be able to say you heard about it from your old pal Jake as well. There's a politician. He's actually been in the game for a while. You may have heard of him. His name is, God help me, Joseph Robinette Biden. Robinette. He turns out he's going to run for office again. He's made the announcement. I think it comes as a surprise to no one. But it is going to be interesting to see the video shared by CBS, which is his announcement. And he tells us a little bit about how he's going to be campaigning. This will be useful for us to know. 2 reasons. Number one, it tells us what the mainstream Democrats view. Man, the wiggling microphone. What the mainstream Democrats view as Republican weaknesses. It will answer the question, is he going to keep running as a centrist? And it will tell us where we're going to have to be the mortar that fills in the cracks. Because if you're watching this channel, odds are you have an understanding that the genuine danger to the United States right now, and in fact to the world right now, is the Republican Party in the United States. I have aspirations one day about doing like regular segments that take place anywhere but the U.S. Can't do it right now because if I'm being honest about the interests of the world, boy, not having the fascist party control a country with a just obscene military, it's pretty important. So we're going to have to fill in the cracks. We're going to have to see who Biden is not pitching to and do the pitch for him. Without further ado, here's CBS telling us about Biden's announcement of his bid for re-election.
Good morning to you. This is a CBS News special report. I'm Gayle King here in New York. We're coming on the air with important news in the presidential race. President Joe Biden is officially running for re-election. Now, this announcement we know is not a surprise. It comes 4 years to the day after he entered the race for the 2020 Democratic nomination, and it sets him up for a likely bruising battle with the Republican nominee and a potential rematch with former President Trump. We have video of Mr. Biden's announcement released just moments ago by the Biden 2024 campaign.
When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom, more rights or fewer. I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too. This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election.
Let's bring in Weijia Zhang, who is at the White House. Weijia, good morning to you. What more can you tell us about the timing of this announcement? It's certainly not a surprise, but here we go.
Good morning to you, Gail, and good morning to everybody. You know, President Joe Biden is very sentimental, and today marks exactly 4 years since back in 2019 he announced that he was jumping into the 2020 presidential election. So there is that. This also gives him an opportunity to draw a contrast with the current Republican frontrunner, which is, of course, former President Donald Trump, who faces a criminal indictment and could see even more charges down the line. And so strategists want him out there, want the president out there to show that he's doing the job. You heard in that video, he was echoing some of the language that he used 4 years ago when it was that very race between him and Trump set up. And frankly,
I do want to hear the rest of what she has to say. I think we should probably give that a gander. But first, I do just want to comment on the video itself. My first impressions remain my second impressions. Good. Overall good. Basically, because he's stressing in broad terms what I think is the most important issue. Whether you're progressive, whether you're liberal, whether you're conservative, it's the same appeal to everybody, which is your rights are being taken away by Republicans. Even if you hate unwed mothers and you're one of those people that's outside of abortion clinics throwing rotten eggs at them, the fact is, odds are, if your daughter was pregnant, you'd try to get an abortion for her, as we see time and time again. So the actual right to have an abortion, that's on the line. The right to walk the streets without being shaken down, that's on the line. The right to have books in libraries, God help us, that's on the line. That is, that's not something that's going to appeal to MAGA folks. They love the havoc. They love the chaos. They love the fascism. But most Americans, that's contrary to what we're all about. And so summing it up is very good. Another reason I like it is that he is not pretending to be more left than he is. I know that's going to be odd coming from somebody who's slightly left of Bernie. That's particularly odd coming from somebody who has openly said we should be working towards socialism eventually here. But what I want least is dishonesty. What I want most for them to avoid is dishonesty. Because if you are trying to draw a stark contrast between the two existing official parties, that's how you do it. Republicans lie and take away rights. Democrats do neither of those things. And that is how he is going to be able to sincerely appeal to the most Americans, which, as far as I'm concerned, I would rather have a lefty president who's going to talk about how they're going to help you. But if we got to have a centrist, which is what we have to work with right now, then good. I'm glad he's playing to his strengths, which is talking about how he's going to prevent you from being hurt. And there's a difference there. And he did a good pitch for it in that video. Let's hear what the news lady has to say.
I think he's tired of answering when is he going to run. We heard from one Democratic strategist who said, dispense with the suspense already. Get into the race, set it up so we can go, just like you said, Gail.
So, he did the announcement, as we all saw by tape. Some people are surprised he didn't do it live and in color in person. Do you think he's going to be hitting the campaign trail?
Gail, that is a huge, important question, because remember, 4 years ago, we were still in the middle of a pandemic, so it made perfect sense that he was sending out campaign video messages to get his points across. We are in a very different situation. But others have announced in this format as well. I think this is a campaign that likes a controlled message. This allows them to use their one shot to get it out there because they know he's the president. People are going to watch any video message that he puts out, especially when he's talking about re-election. The problem he faces, Gail, is that polls, including our news, CBS News poll, shows that Americans and even Democrats aren't exactly excited about his run. In fact, just 54% are accepting of his run. 27% say he's nervous. And you can see right here how his approval rating has dipped and hasn't really been able to come back up. So I think it will be important for him to hit the campaign trail, but that's a big question. Just how much are we going to see him physically out and about engaging with voters?
All right, Weijia, and so it begins. Something tells me, Weijia, this will be our lead at 7 o'clock. Will you be joining us, ma'am?
For what? I'm sorry, I missed you.
I said this will be our lead at 7 o'clock. Something tells me.
Boy.
You know, I think I'll
Will you be
here.
joining us?
I think so.
All right.
I think it's a big story.
I think so, too. Weijia, always good to see you. Thank you so much. Of course.
Oh, I do love news banter. My word. You know, one thing I'd like to do, I don't think this is realistic, but because it's asking a hell of a lot, but I would like to get some other former news people, preferably people that had like the job I had, where either radio folks or like producers, but like the people that literally had to gather the news and then hand it to somebody to go report. And I would like to get them like on just sort of we have a few beers and chat with y'all stream, because I think it would be fun to just heckle some newscasts together. There are groups you can join on social media that are for people in the news industry, and the high school pettiness of it, as well as the camaraderie is delightful, and I think y'all would appreciate it. And I think y'all would get what we're talking about because, you know, you're the sort of folks that watch political streams for fun. So you would understand it. Let's just jump in. I said my piece about what I like about Biden's message. Let's jump in to what y'all have to say. Lauren St. Laurent says he's going to run as the anti-MAGA, to try to have an anti-MAGA Republican and former votes plus younger, more progressive voters. Yeah. Ooh. I want to see. Ooh, Zix. By the way, we are working on an easier way to talk. I want to take proper calls again. We had Patrick Thibodeau on, but I felt like when I listened to the recording, I felt like you could barely hear him. So now I want to do it better. But let's see what Zix has to say. Not as bad as Hillary, but not my choice. Yeah, I agree. And they're not even going to risk a Bernie-esque mess like 2016. No debates, a fait accompli. Sorry, not good with other languages, even when they're part of mine. Yeah. He's going to run as we said that. Lauren St. Laurent says, anywhere but the U.S. What about Israel, Afghanistan? I didn't catch the context. I'm sorry. Anti-corporatist says, oh, it's over? Sorry, I must have nodded off. Yeah. I don't think that Biden is going to be terribly... You can see me morphing into an old man as the stream goes on. I don't think Biden's going to make anybody excited to go vote for Biden. But I think he's going to get tons of people to go vote for Biden. I think he is savvy enough and realistic enough to understand that nobody likes him all that much. They don't dislike him, but his strength is that nobody feels particularly passionate about him. Honest to God, I think if you had corporate Democrats out there right now, your Joe Manchins and your testers being like, oh, Biden, we love him. If you had your whatever, Chuck Schumer out there being like, yeah, Biden, that would take votes away from him. The Bill Clinton was a once in a generation politician that could do that, and we're worse off for it, in my opinion. Barack Obama pretended to be a progressive, let's be honest, and was not a progressive. Energy for Biden is not going to help him. And I think he knows it because it won't be genuine. However, energy against Trump, energy against MAGA. And I'll tell you, I don't think Trump is going to be a problem. How many court cases are pending? We've only had, it's hard to, every minute feels like an hour in 2023. But you should keep in mind the Alvin Bragg historic indictment. That's one of the lightest things against him. We have treason that we're talking about with some of this. Excuse me, not treason, sedition that we're talking about with some of these. Arguably treason if you consider supporting the seditionists to be treasonous behavior. I mean, we have real harsh criminal charges against this guy coming. It's possible that Trump's not even a factor. And I bring that up only to counteract the point I was just making. If you make it all about, oh, Trump's bad, I'm Biden, I'm not Trump, then that might go away. But he's being smart. He's talking about it accurately, which is to say, this is a MAGA thing. This is a Republican thing now. MAGA is in control of the Republican Party, and that's what he's campaigning against. The Republican Party, their freedom-killing policies. I can't stress enough how pleased I am to see him choosing this path to run on, and I think that he is going to make his campaign less about him and more about giving him, as we've said from the start, is what we really need. More about giving him the tools he needs in order to pass things Democrats will be pleased with. That means booting Republicans out of the House and making damn sure they don't get the Senate. Senate is actually going to be easier than the House because there is less gerrymandering to worry about. But that is what the campaign is going to be about. That is what it should be about. And I look forward to seeing the rest of it. Well, let me tell you what, y'all. As excited as I am for some of these other vidges, let's see. It is a 2 for Tuesday. We're going to have time. Let me see. Let's read what the Wicked community has to say. I'll go with what the vibe of the night is. Don't think Dan Bongino's been fired from Fox as well. Yes, Lawrence St. Laurent, he has. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And you know what? We may as well make it a segment. Let's do it. I was thinking about holding this one off for the next show, which, by the way, will be at 9. What's the matter with me? Oh, Jake. We'll be at 9. But damn it all, it's too gossipy fun not to do this. But also, I've been really anxious to understand MAGA voters. Good God, they're a wild bunch. I was curious to see how accurate some of those earlier polls were. You remember when the Dominion suit first came out and the Tucker texts came out and people asked Fox viewers what they thought of all this? Well, it turns out there was about I think it was a 18% drop in Fox, in trust for Fox. That's huge, man. That's huge. Damn near 2 in 10 viewers no longer trust them. Good. Doesn't even mean that they're going on to better sources of news, but look, that's progress. We want them not trusting Fox because, and I'll let you in on a little secret, Fox lies. They shouldn't trust that news organization. Well, CNN recently talked to 4 Fox News viewers. And they asked them about details of the Dominion trial and the settlement. And they asked them what they thought of it all. And it was fascinating. What do you say we watch it together? I'm going to be curious to hear what y'all have to say coming out the other side. I'm going to be hooting and hollering and laughing basically throughout it.
Fox has to pay Dominion Voting Systems $787 million for making false statements about the voting machines. It was a huge story for the past 2 years in the media world, but very rarely mentioned on Fox. So what do Fox viewers know about what happened? I sat down with a group of them to find out. Here is our Pulse of the People. Show of hands, how many of you had heard about this 2-year legal battle between Dominion and Fox before our producer called you? 2 of you had heard about it.
I was aware of the claims that had made against Dominion and the allegations of voter.
Let me jump in there. First of all, I think that one guy was the Jake in the crowd, as I called him. Let's go back. Yeah. So she said only 2 of you had heard. Okay, yeah. So she did catch him. That's where we need to start working. Even if it was 3 of them had heard and just 1 hadn't, but no, clearly it was 2. Okay. Oh, wait. Yeah. Even if that was the case, you gotta contact that last person. Don't let Fox viewers ignore this. This is crucial. We let Tucker, back when he was a Fox News personality, ooh, that feels good to say. We let Tucker get away with saying that no one should take his show seriously, and then he went on like nothing happened. Most of the preaching we should be doing over the next couple of weeks, if you get the opportunity, just look for it. Keep your eyes peeled for it. Tell them about the basics of the Dominion case. Fox conceded the better part of $1 billion to Dominion rather than argue with them in court. The better part of $1 billion. It's not like they paid him $500,000. All right, get out of here. Our lawyers cost more than that. Nope. They paid Dominion real money. Also bring up the fact that the Fox hosts who were spreading these lies knew that they were lies and have no respect for the people that watch them. Those will be the people you're talking to. Fox hosts have no respect for their viewers. Make sure they know that.
I was aware of the claims that had made against Dominion and the allegations of voter fraud more broadly. I just wasn't aware that Dominion had filed essentially a defamation suit against Fox.
How many of you are surprised by the $787 million settlement that Fox agreed to pay to Dominion for broadcasting false information about the voting systems? None of you. Reagan, your thoughts?
It was damning to Fox. So at some point, you have to make a business decision on both ends. And I thought, it would probably be in Fox's best interest to settle.
Obviously, Fox made those claims in some capacity, and Dominion took issue with it. So, okay, they sued them. What I came away from the court filing with was a lot of this is a matter of opinion.
This has been over a year, correct? So for them to come to the table with no evidence to back up their claims, that's really frustrating, because it's quite frankly, we've had millions of Americans that have been doing their homework since 2020. It's pretty easy to find some funny stuff.
Let's just be clear about what she was saying right there, because that's one where I had to back it up and listen again. She was saying that she was disappointed, at least, and tell me if I got this wrong. She was saying that she was disappointed that Fox didn't come prepared to back up their claims. Then she said, we've had millions of Americans who did their homework. There it is. There's the problem. She doesn't understand that these people who, quote unquote, did their homework were wrong. They were misled. Part of doing their homework used to be including clips from Fox. There's a pressure point. Use it.
Wondering how you feel knowing that one of the things that came out during Discovery was how different the hosts felt behind the scenes than what they were saying on the air. For instance, when Tucker Carlson said behind the scenes after the election on November 23rd, 2020, he says, I had to try to make the White House disavow Sidney Powell, which they obviously should have done long before. Laura Ingraham in her text responds, no serious lawyer could believe what they were saying.
Well, I'd lost trust in them prior to that.
Again, look where her loyalty lies here. Look where this lady is. She's clearly the most wackadoo. Just starting first with what she wants to believe, and then looking for people that are saying that. And, that is very much a Republican way of thinking. But she has no understanding that it's flawed. And I'll even go farther. If she truly believed that the election was stolen, it wasn't. But if she truly believed that, and she was looking to prove that, there would be legitimate ways to go about it. There would be legitimate stances you could take. None of them she's put forward, because nobody, including Donald Trump and his team, have been able to demonstrate that that was so. So I would want to see her saying, why didn't they investigate X, Y, or Z? Problem, and we used to hear that all the time, by the way. Problem is, those things have been investigated. Whatever wacky thing, the bamboo, the satellites, this, that, yeah, they've been debunked. So now she's just saying, oh, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed they didn't believe the lie that she believes. So she's saying she lost trust in them because they didn't believe the lie. Because not because they were lying to her, but because they didn't believe the lie they were telling her. When somebody is this blind, you can take advantage of them. And I'm going to recommend we do take advantage of them. I'm going to recommend we wave a red cloth and let these particularly far-gone MAGA people charge right through it and off a cliff. But we'll get into more of that stuff later. For now, let's just keep understanding these folks.
Anyway, when Fox was calling out the election, I know a lot of people felt this way. They were calling out the election prematurely for Arizona. And then after that, there's been a lot of talking out both sides of their mouth.
The audience is not looking to be lied to. It's looking to give context to something that we know is true from a certain perspective, and that's got a value. But there's a...
Let's have him say it again. He's saying the audience is not looking to be lied to, but they're also not looking to be informed, are they? No, they're what they are looking for is a plausible lie. That's what he's saying he wants. He wants a plausible lie. Give me a way I can talk about this from my political stance. Don't ask me to change my political stance. Just give me a way to talk about this from my political stance.
After that, there's been a lot of talking out both sides of their mouth.
Give it one
The
more
audience
time.
is not looking to be lied to. It's looking to give context to something that we know is true from a certain perspective, and that's got a value. But there is a line not to cross. And once you know that something is not true, you need to let them know, because then they can move on and accept that the conservatives lost this last election, not because of some nefarious deep state shadowy thing.
So, Allison,
Oh my God, there's hope.
you spoke about, certain Fox hosts knew about this, but they went forward with it anyway. One, I'm really happy that they have divergent opinions in private, and they say, gosh, I'm not really sure about this.
I think they're going to learn a lesson. This lesson has happened to cost them $787 million, which is a number I can't hardly imagine. But
And what is that lesson,
did learn
Ryan?
it,
I
I
mean,
hope.
but what is that lesson?
well, I think that lesson is that the news should be based wholly on truth.
There's a certain level of willful blindness, but people see what they want to see. And that's true on the left and it's true on the right. But I don't look to any of
Do remember the purpose of the nonsense you see from Fox News and MAGA Republicans and OAN and all of the right-wing propaganda is to get people saying what he just said, just now, is to pretend like their evils are the same across the board, to pretend like their dishonesty is the same across the board, to pretend like everybody's duplicitous, everybody's lying. Up there is a great example of the propaganda working. Say it again, my misinformed
And
brother.
that's true on the left and it's true on the right.
No, it isn't. No, it is not. But he believes it is because the January 6th committee had a lot of politicians with a D next to them standing up and saying, this is bad, this is horrible, this is something that we should all be concerned about. It included 2 Republicans who got labeled as rhinos saying, this is bad, this is horrible, this is something we should care about. Then Marjorie Taylor Greene got up in this session of Congress. This is bad, this is horrible, what Democrats are doing. This is something we should care about. Jim Jordan. This is bad, this is something horrible, this is something we should care about. They're breaking the law. The Democrats are breaking the law. To the uninformed, it sounds the same. If you don't care about looking at the actual facts, it sounds the same. It results in that jackass. They're not the same.
But I don't look to any of the networks, including Fox, as the ultimate arbiter of truth.
One more question. Show of hands. How
I look to freedomeagle.net for my truth. And they tell me that it's the Jews.
How many of you will still be devoted Fox watchers?
I mean, not sure if it's devoted, but I'll still partake.
So 3 of
I'm
you.
used to being the odd man out. That's okay.
So guys, of the 3 who are still going to be Fox watchers, Ian, will you take what they say with more of a grain of salt now?
Hold up. Take a note of who said they weren't going to be a devoted Fox watcher. Take a note. In my opinion, the most far gone in terms of falling for propaganda is, well, no, it's actually that guy. But the most MAGA-y person was that lady right there. But she's the one that says she's not going to be a devoted Fox watcher anymore. Why is that? Well, what did she say? Cheesed her off the most when she said she no longer trusted him. Yeah, it was the lies. It was the insults. It was the fact that Fox was duplicitous. That's how you attack it. Point out the hypocrisy. And look, your MAGA community members are going to be maybe one of those 4 people. You got a 25% chance of making them 100% better as human beings. Take it. You might be successful, you might not. If you don't successfully sway someone away from Fox, you will leave there being more experienced in the attempt. And in a country where, 74, 72, however many million people voted for Trump, you will have plenty of opportunities to talk people off of the crazy ledge. I make efforts to try to attract MAGA folks to this channel. I'll let you in on something. It's not because I think it's going to grow the channel. It's not for my benefit. It's not for their benefit either. It's for your benefit. It's to give you practice dealing with them. It's easier to deal with them in this context. Yeah, it's a little annoying. We have mods now for that reason. But it's good practice. Because we are going to be preaching the gospel. We're going to be preaching the good word of democracy. Practice makes perfect. Ideally, perfect practice makes perfect. But practice.
As I stated earlier, I take everyone with a grain of salt.
Reagan, what about you? Will you be listening to Fox through a different lens, taking it more with a grain of salt, or?
You should always look within when something, big like this happens, a big case like this. So yeah, I think there's going to be an extra filter on that lens when I watch Tucker.
Ryan, will you be watching through a different filter, as Reagan said?
I think I'm going to be expanding my net some more. Allison, you might be winning a new future viewer, but also, the things that Fox News is showing
CNN.
is not necessarily the things that CNN is showing. And expanding my net will be, I think, helpful so that I don't have these blind spots like this Dominion case.
Our thanks to our panel there. And if you want to comment on it, feel free to find me on social media at Allison Camerata.
Progress. These people respond to consequences. These people who are MAGA adherents in 2023 understand that they're a very different breed than the 2016 MAGA adherents. They're a very different breed than the 2018 MAGA adherents. Yeah, you're going to have a ton of people that were supporters from the beginning. But even they will have had to change to remain MAGA adherents. Because to support MAGA now, most of the hypothetical's gone. You can't pretend that they're going to do X or Y when they've demonstrated they don't. They're not going to help the working class. They're not going to be good at foreign policy. And yeah, you can say it to others, but we all lived through it. Remember, keep in your head. January 6th happened. An insurrection happened. MAGA has made it clear what they're all about. Fox has made it clear what they're all about. Republican Party made it crystal clear what it's all about. Consistency is going to be key. Constant pressure. There will be no single great struggle that you have to endure, that you have to emerge victorious in order to win. In fact, looking for that works against us, the sane Americans, the sane people of planet Earth. With these right-wingers, with the right-wing authoritarian trend that is happening around the world right now, consistency will be key. Not only because that's how politics works in most places around the world and emphasized to a comic degree in America, but also because it's something that right-wing authoritarians can't keep up with. They cannot stay consistent because they're reactionary. If they find out a minority exists, they must find a way to be against it, and usually they're going to end up contradicting something else they said. Consistency will be key, and it's also easier to remember. Fox lies. Keep slamming that message home. There's 100 different ways you can say it. You can say they lied knowingly about the Dominion voting machine conspiracy theories. That's true. They did lie about that. You can say they lied about how they felt about their audience, and you could name Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson. They all disparaged their audience, and that's true. They did do that. Rupert Murdoch lies. Rupert Murdoch, let's not forget, ran the newspaper The News of the World, which hacked into a kidnapped girl's email account and had her mother convinced that she was still alive and signing in from elsewhere. No, that was just Rupert Murdoch hacking into a kidnapped and deceased, it turns out, kidnapping victim's email account. That's who we're dealing with. Just keep bringing it up. Said it before, I'm going to say it again. Victory is inevitable. And the better we are at this will determine how quickly it arrives. Sooner is better. Sooner is better. But the victory will happen regardless. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. The anti-corporatist says, I'll let you in on a secret. I'm currently a team truck driver, and my teammate is anti-Trump, but otherwise Republican. Interesting. What? He feels sorry for Derek Chauvin for getting railroaded for just doing his job. Christ. That's a wild one. I'm glad he's anti-Trump. Anti-corporatist, why? Has he said why he's anti-Trump? That's really interesting. He says, anti-corporatist says, he's a good guy. I have hope for him. Just yesterday, he found out about conversion therapy and was surprised that he couldn't find any pro-conversion therapy videos on YouTube. Oh, my God. Our More Equal says, another reason consistency is key is because what a lot of these authoritarians want is consistency. They think a dictator will add consistency. They feel insecure, and consistency helps them feel safe. Very interesting point, Are More Equal. Noted. Many of these authoritarian people scream about freedom, but what they really want is apparent. Yeah, I think you're right. Lauren St. Laurent says, has anyone ever watched The Next Level on YouTube? There's this girl, Sarah Longwell, who does panels on MAGA vote. I want to. I'm going to ask her how she does that. Who does panels on MAGA voters sometimes. According to her, they're lost forever. I don't think that's so. I just think that we appeal to them based off our own values, and that's where the problem lies. Yeah, there's a longer conversation to be had about making some of our values their values. You really should believe in equality for all. But if you accept first that they don't have those values. For example, the anti-corporatist's pal there, really values Derek Chauvin's ability to step on people's necks more than he does people to not have their necks stepped on. But still, if you appeal, let's use that. All right, that guy's in the car with me. He says Derek Chauvin got railroaded. My response to him would be, good cops out there doing their jobs well were hurt by Derek Chauvin doing his job poorly. Derek Chauvin was clearly not in control of the situation. Neither were any of the officers around him. Their training was the problem, and him going to prison for it makes it more likely that other cops in the future won't be in that situation. Will you win that argument? Yeah, probably not. Most political arguments you don't win, but you do make progress by making points that appeal to people. So focus on what they care about and not making them care about the same things you do. Anti-corporatist adds, I don't accept that anyone is lost forever, but, some may need electroshock therapy. Yeah. And also remember, when you are arguing with these people in a public forum, you're not arguing for their benefit. You are arguing for the benefit of the listeners. Our More Equal says, show them the laws in charge. They will actually feel better for it, and so will the rest of us, as long as the laws are laws we can live with and like. Yes, sir. Welcome to the channel, Our More Equal. We are very much on the same page. That is part of why I was so strongly in favor of charging Trump as early as possible and getting state investigations going into the false elector scheme as early as possible. I realize a case has to be built, but very publicly enforcing the law is an important part of this, because under the Republican view right now, and not without reason, Democrats are not a law and order party, but they should be. Collectivided says, that's interesting. Collectivided says, I don't know if appeals can be effective. Many of them have made it part of their ego identity. Sure. But look at how someone's identity changes over time. If you make it something that they are adding to their identity rather than taking away from their identity, I think you'll find it's a much easier thing to add. Or a much easier thing to sell. And as with having, I'm a millennial. I've had 1,000 jobs. One of them was sales, and that's how you do it. You don't ask them to give up something. You ask them to hold on to something new. So let's take again that trucker who's anti-Derek Chauvin. You're asking him to remain pro-cop and add on that one of the ways you protect cops is by getting rid of the bad ones. Collectivided says deprogramming is like a full-time job. Yeah, but we can a bunch of us part-timers can get together and cover all the bases. All right, y'all. I literally could chat with you all night, and I'll tell you what, we'll keep it going in a little bit. 9 o'clock is the next show. I'll see you then. I'm going to wrap this stream up, set up the next show. I've got different clips I want to show you. A lot of them from you. We've had viewers submit clips that I really want to get to. So we're going to be doing a couple of those in the next show. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed the stream, give it a like. It'll sure help grow the channel. Consider subscribing if you don't mind your old pal Jake saying subscribing now and then. Good God almighty. This has been WYCD Wicket. That stands for What You Can Do. Oh, my name's Jake. I'll see you next time.